What we want to talk about now really is the next area up, and that is the legs and the hips. And you know what I look for and what Damon looks for from a functional and stable. He's going to get into a few definitions of stability versus mobility. And Damon, I'm going to let you take it from here, what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. When I take a look at the body, CJ, I really take a look at mobile and stable joints, all right?
Right.
Our design is pretty awesome in the body. And so what happens is, literally, I can take it joint by joint, so the feet have to be a stable joint. What I mean by stable is they have to actually hold their position while real dynamic movement's going on. The ankle has to be nice and mobile. If I've got a super stiff ankle, I can't get into my right side. I can't get into my left side, and so let's just take a look. You know, if I have immobile ankles, I'm going to see a roll of the ankle. Now they're really taking advantage of the leverage points. They're not doing any rolling of the ankles, especially as they go back into. Actually, even take a look at the left foot. I've got to have good ankle mobility.
Yep.
Okay, and really from a knee point, I got to have these nice and stable. Okay, and so especially this is represented if I'm going to go down the line, they have to be nice and stable. You know, holding a nice angled athletic position, and really if I'm going to go face-on position, I don't mind a lot of internal rotation on this, but if I don't have good knee stability, this guy's going to go right, left all the time, okay? And this is where if these guys are stable, now I'm handling ground reaction forces going all the way up. So my hip joints need to be nice and mobile, okay?
Yep.
So I can get an internal rotation, external rotation of the hip. I know we're kind of talking big, but this is important.
Yeah.
So the hips need to be mobile. Now, if I'm going from a behind view, this guy right here, I'm going to call this entire area the lumbopelvic hip complex, okay? Meaning I don't want rotation from here. This looks like the hip is actually getting rotation. Okay,
Yep.
or the spine is getting rotation from the lumbar, but it's not. It's actually getting it from the hips. And so think of a boxer. If I'm going to go load my right side, I'm going to load and punch somebody with my right hand. A boxer is going to load into that hip and utilize his hip to go. And so this is what this golfer is doing, is really loading on that right side. He's not rotating from this lumbar. He's actually getting it from the hip, which is a mobile joint, and then we go into this T-spine. T-spine has to be mobile, okay? And so it's a little bit easier when I go into an address position. This is gonna be that T-spine, and as I'm going through, you can see super importance to have mid-spine mobility, okay? And then if I go into shoulders here, I'm going to go back into an address position. So scapula being back through here, they have to be nice and stable. It actually helps us stay on a swing plane. Notice how well we're taken back, and so we're staying on a swing plane. Now if I take this line right here, this represents my shoulder planes. If I take this line and I have an immobile core, or kind of a weak core, I'll see this line start to shoot way out here, and this becomes very, very flat. Or I go very steep, or there's a lot of issues. So shoulders have got to be nice, or the shoulder blades have got to be nice and stable positions. These joints in here, the actual shoulder joints, need to be mobile, and so that's where you'll see represented into a good fixed position right here in the backswing or takeaway. I can actually get into a good position. If I don't have that, I'll see chicken wing, not good. And so elbows and hands, I like to keep those as the last part of the equation, and those come into play. But if all this goes awry, we have a multitude of swing faults that we can talk about.
So to summarize this, am I correct in saying if we have a stable ankle and stable knees, they're allowed to rotate a little bit. The hips are mobile, so since we're talking about the legs, that really is the key here. So the hips are allowed to turn, and if we can go from face on here, actually behind, and let's just show from a lot of people that I see, as this goes through, you're going to see how that right hip will turn versus sliding. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So far? So that is what's going to get into the next section, which is more the upper body and the torso.
I'm glad you mentioned that, CJ, because we do want to talk about the golf swing is a ground up position. I think we've been taught for a long time that we need to get from the upper part of the body down. So we're almost chopping at the body. We're utilizing the upper body way too much, thinking too much. Now, if we use this is an athletic movement. If we use the body athletically, we can use the body from ground up and take advantage of having a very long-term athletic body that can last an entire 18 rounds and not really have too many injuries. So.
Show that at impact as well. Now this is a little bit with the driver, but this is that triple stack position that we're talking about with you know, more with the ankle, knee, and the hip in alignment. Now he's a little bit back on it here just because it's a driver, and we started with 60%. But you can see how the joints are trying to get in alignment, and that's really what we're after there.
Yeah, if we had that 6-iron, you'd see that a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because you know he wants to be behind just a shade with that driver.
Yep.
That's why.
That's really what you're looking for. So from the ground up.